welcome to another video from TRC, or the Razor company. My name is GMac and I'm here for TRC today to take you through my debut video, which does involve a razor that I've used for a good bit of time. But before I get to that, let's run you through a bit of an introduction. I used a cartridge for about 15 years, that's cartridge razors, and I used to shave about once or twice a month due to razor burn, ingrown hair, and razor bumps. I hated shaving, and that's when I made the switch to DE shaving. Not that I'm running down cartridges. I mean, cartridges, if they work for you, I think that's fantastic. So I moved on to using, a DE razor, and people call it a rabbit hole. I don't. I call it an upward climb. The more you get into it, the more you acquire. So today I'm going to feature the Rockwell 6S, and there's a bit of a background to it. So let's talk about the razor itself. So this is the razor, just so that you can get a view of it. I've set it on the 6 setting just to give you a view. And Rockwell, of course, does need you to put the number of the plate that you're going to use on the lower side where it is exposed. So Rockwell was started by two friends from university that wanted to create a razor that was in a way an adjustable but wasn't an adjustable. So there's 6 different levels that you can choose from, and that's on 3 plates. So you have 5 and 6 on the plate that I'm using. You have 2 and 4 on another plate, and then 1 and 3 on another plate. Never understood that combination, but that's how it works. And this is the kind of razor that is reliable. It's not flash, it's not a big thrill, but when you need to get the job done, it looks a bit industrial, but it is a fabulous razor, and I totally endorse it for the simple reason that it spells comfort. No matter what happens, the Rockwell spells great comfort. So let's get into the shave itself today. For the blade, I'm using the Wilkinson sword. This, of course, is the one that is made in Germany. You do get one that is also made in India. And from the razor company itself, I've also got the Ethos sample, as you can see. Ethos is, well, one of those shaving soaps that has so many ingredients in it that are so good for your skin, and I absolutely love it. So let's get into the shave itself. And the reason why I've chosen the 6 is when I started DE shaving, I was actually, well, I started with the leaf twig, as I remember, then moved on to a DE 8-9. And today I do prefer, people call them aggressive, but I do prefer high efficiency razors. At the same time, in this series of videos, I'm also going to run you through how you can do a $3 shave and on par with a shave from a razor costing $300 or $400. So stay with me through the series as I take you through it, but let's get started with the shave itself for today. And today we're going to be using, as I said, the Ethos shaving soap. Just to give you the name of it, of course, this is Rosa. I truly love the rose fragrance. As a child in my grandma's house, right in the front yard, we had these a lot of rose plantations. We had yellow, pink, and red roses. And that's one of the reasons why I've always got some sort of a fondness, or it always has a special place in my heart. But it's got to be a light rose fragrance, not something that is overpowering. So let's get straight down to business with the shave itself. I did lather up well earlier, so I normally prefer bowl lathering than actually face lathering like a lot of other wet shavers do. Just to give you a view of the bowl I'm using, well, I'm using my timeless bowl, as you can see. I absolutely love it. And for my brush, I do have it's a Boti custom brush that was made for me by a friend of mine at the company. So here we go with my first shave, not just on video, but for TRC. Do keep in mind the fact that a lot of people like to use a thick lather, like a meringue. I'm not always the biggest fan of that. I actually prefer going in for a bit of a, thinner lather, or what you would call a watery lather, as some people call it. I have a huge fondness for the R41, and that's one of the reasons why I like using a watery lather most of the time. But hey, if you want it thick, if you want it to be, meringue-like, that's really your call. There's a lot of talk about how, artisan soaps today, you're just spoiled for choice. I'm still quite a huge fan of a lot of the old school soaps like Tabac. I still, love using, well, the old Mitchell's Wool Fat. Mega fan of soaps like Sterling as well. So I think we're good to go with our first shave itself. I'm not going to overdo the lather too much. Never been a fan of thick lathers, as some people are, and I don't blame them for that. So here we go with the Rockwell 6S. One of the key things about the Rockwell, unlike many other razors, is you can actually toss in any blade into it, and it will perform. It's an absolutely stunningly smooth razor. And forgot to tell you that I was actually sporting 4.5 day stubble, almost 5 days, and this can just mow it down. There's always talk about how, well, a lot of shavers actually, do have certain preference for blades. I do as well. My favorite blades actually are the Visomet Super Iridium. But once in a while, it's always good to, well, get another blade in, just to feel what it's like. If I'm not mistaken, the same company that does the Personas also does the Wilkinson Sword in Germany. Never, really tough to find the angle with the Rockwell razor. It's almost a bit of a steep angle, not really shallow. I prefer a steep angle myself. It's something that I've been used to, well, been shaving with a steep angle for the longest time. I just find it kind of more natural for me. Some shavers, of course, do find that they like a shallow angle. But with the Rockwell, it's kind of autopilot most of the time. Oh, this cream is just, this soap is just fantastic. Love the fragrance, love the feel of it. Yeah, it's just outstandingly good. I remember there was always a debate about the Rockwell and, you know, the 6S being full stainless steel made in the USA. Of course, I absolutely love the build quality of it. But let's not forget that I actually started off on a 6C. And the only reason that I really did sell the 6C was because I got a good trade on it. And then I knew I was going to progress to a 6S. So, but left with the choice, I would have probably kept the 6C and just kept it as a travel razor. Absolutely phenomenal razor. And the debate really between the 6S and the 6C was whether, you know, people were well affected by the glide quality, because if you look at the way that the Rockwell 6S is, it's a bit of a, you know, sandblasted kind of a finish. Mine is about, well, maybe 8 months old. But it's not that shiny finish, and a lot of people complain that, you know, it would affect the glide quality of the razor. I don't think that's true. I think they both shave very similar for me. Maybe the chrome finish in the 6C, which is actually a GMac razor, the glide quality could be just by a hair's breadth ahead. Doesn't make a difference to the shave. Not for me. So a lot of wet shavers also, you know, have their own preferences for other razors, including well, SE razors, which actually are single edge razors, where you could use a half DE blade, or you use a, you know, an Artist Club series blade. It's something that I've been getting into of late. Absolutely love them. Fantastic shaves every time. All right, easy peasy, nice and squeezy. Finished with the first pass, and I think that that should kind of work well for me. Just gonna, well, clean up the face before I can get into the next well pass. I was gonna say, hello, is it me you're looking for? Well, if it is, then I'm back here to run through the second pass, and I think it's going to be an interesting one. So just going to grab a towel. Very interesting to see how, you know, things actually progress when you get into wet shaving, and how you can actually, you know, pick up tips and tricks along the way from most of the wet shavers. Everything that you need to. I mean, in the good old days, there wasn't anything available, but today, everything that you need to, it's right there on video. Just look it up. You have some of the best shavers in there. I've got a ton of favorites that I actually, you know, like and love to watch. I've learned a good bit of, you know, tricks from watching them shave, and it's been quite an exciting journey. So let's get on to pass number 2. To be honest, I think I just went in, you know, with a small quantity of soap, and the reason I did that was it's expensive. didn't want to run through it in just one go. I just thought it'd be easier to, you know, take your time with it. So you have a lot of people who are, you know, face painters, and then you have a lot of people who are actually, you know, face latherers who can spend a good bit of like 15 minutes, 20 minutes just lathering up. I can't do that. I've always been the kind of guy that likes well, to lather up in a bowl and then layer it on. Now, the main thing about a lather you always got to remember is it's not about getting that meringue-like consistency, getting a yogurt-like consistency. I think that's just a kind of a myth, if you ask me. But the main thing is that you get a good cushion and protection and a good glide. As long as there's slickness in the soap, and it's very easy to tell a soap and how good it is for you. And not every soap works for everyone. I have a couple of brands that I just can't use, and maybe because of some of the ingredients in there, maybe that the essential oil count is too strong. But I love this soap. I absolutely love this fragrance. Ethos Rosa, beautiful. So over a period of time, and the best thing to do is some people experiment with actually putting the soaps onto their elbows and trying to figure out if, well, they do a skin patch test, and I think that's very important. I'm too lazy to have ever done one. I've learned the hard way with face rashes that have been a result of soaps not agreeing with me. So here we go. Let's go on with our next shade. Do forgive me if the lather is not uniform. It was never meant to be. Sometimes the easiest thing I'll do is just touch it up a little bit. Yep. So let's get on to pass number 2. So I'm going to go, well, against the grain from down. The Rockwell does have a little bit of feedback, but it's never too much. Kind of comfortable. Having said that, I must tell you that I favor razors that do have feedback. I'm a huge fan of music. I don't know whether that's a connection, but blues, 70s rock, classic rock, absolutely love it. So the audio feedback is something that I actually live for. Throws me off a little bit when there are razors that do not have any feedback. Over time, a lot of people will tell you that the Rockwell 6S is a bit of a boring razor, that it just gets the job done, there's nothing exciting about it. But if you ask me if there was one reliable razor in your stable that you knew was going to come to your aid and take down the stubble, it's a no-nonsense razor. It really is, and it just gets the job done. It's also an extremely smooth razor, unlike a lot of other razors that can be a bit bitey. But even with the plate 6 on, it's absolutely wonderful. So let's go across the grain for this one. I remember when I was shaving, one day, and my niece was picking up a razor for her dad, and the first thing she asked me is, "Why do you go in different directions?" And I said, well, something that I learned from the owner of Mr. Fine in one of the mails that he sent me, and I absolutely love him for that. Face mapping. You have to do face mapping. You have to figure out how exactly the shape of your face is, the direction of your growth is. You've got to be able to tell that. So when you have a stubble, put your hands gently on your face, feel around that stubble, and try and figure out in which direction your hair grows. That way you can actually avoid doing less passes, like for me, if I have to do, too many touch-ups or passes, it leads to major skin irritation. And it's one of the things that has put me off a lot of razors, which are, just a lot milder. Well, I haven't said this before, but this is my first time with the Wilkinson blade, and I absolutely love it. It's a beautiful blade. It's one of the benefits of a Rockwell, isn't it? You can throw in any blade into this razor and it'll just work like gold. Well, that's one of the bits of advice that I'm going to give you. If you ever see any wet shaver, going in certain directions with the first, second, and third pass, don't follow it. Believe me, you'll come back and thank me for it. And the reason I really said that is because everyone's face is shaped differently. You don't want to, everyone's direction of hair growth is very different, of stubble. So there we have it, 2 passes done. I'm just going to wash up and we'll get a bit of alum on my face. So that was good, absolutely smooth. There's another thing that I learned from, wet shavers, and wash the soap off your face. Sometimes it could be, ingredients in there that could actually be very, very harmful to the skin if they stay on for too long. Some people are allergic to lanolin. So just a slight bit of sting where I went over, and that's on this area. But otherwise, yep, that was as smooth can be. I do hope that you've enjoyed my first video. It was a bit too long. I had so much to tell you. There was so much to talk about. Didn't really get a time to introduce myself and the things that I like, but I love wet shaving, and that's what really matters. So I'm going to, just show you the aftershave that I'm going to run with before anything else. And after that, we'll do a quick wrap. I don't have a special, towel like some of the wet shavers. But I do have, a poo towel. I'm a mega fan, an absolutely mega fan of Winnie the Pooh. Have been since childhood. I have a couple of snow globes, a ton of merchandise, books signed by the second author after Milner, who actually wrote the sequel to the story. David Benjamin, if I'm not mistaken. Met him a couple of years back. For the aftershave today, I'm going to go old school. I don't like plastic bottles, so I actually used an old Belgian beer bottle, washed it out completely, put my Clubman Pinot in there. I've spiked it up with a couple of menthol crystals because I absolutely adore menthol. So, and to boot, the place that I live in Singapore, it's absolutely hot here. Menthol inside your aftershave is a recipe from the gods. Oh. I can feel that. I can feel it in my lungs and my nose and my head, and I absolutely love it. So this is really, people talk about snake bite. I do love it. It's great, but just get organic menthol crystals, and you can just drop them into your aftershave if you like. Don't overdo it. just put in maybe 2 or 3. I put in about 8. That's because I like it like that. So that's my first shave for the TRC company, and my first shave ever on video. I've always been used to being behind the lens and not in front of it, but I do hope that you've well, enjoyed the little bit that I brought to your screens or your devices. Do send in your comments and your feedback, any questions that you have regarding the shaving soap, the Rockwell, or even Clubman Pinot, because Clubman Pinot, of course, is old school. It just takes you back to those days when my godfather used to take me for haircuts. I was about 4 or 5 years old at the time, and that was just after Sunday Mass, sometimes before. So that was my first video. Thank you so much for coming on board, and I'll see you back again with a new video very soon. And I'm going to get into a series called the Budget Series, so you do want to catch that to find out how you can save $1 and yet get the best shave ever. So from me, GMac for TRC, it's time to say bye-bye for now, and you have a lovely, lovely rest of this day.